So welcome back to another episode, and we're gonna go back to the GameCube launch back in November 18th, 2001, from present day, 18 years ago now, which is unreal. I can't believe it's 18 years since the GameCube launched, and I'm gonna tell a story about picking up my GameCube for the very, very first time, and how it didn't go according to plan, and how some things went very wrong. And it wasn't the best launch for me, and it wasn't really the best moment in my life. That is for sure. So I just want to talk a little bit here about the build-up to the GameCube launch, and I was really hyped. I was a Nintendo fan. I really liked the N64. I didn't think there was enough games on it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. And they announced the GameCube, and it was going to be a cube. You know, and I thought it was cool. I thought it was neat that you could hook up all the different controllers in here, and the memory cards are like this big, and in the front here, and all the discs and stuff like that were really small. I liked it, and it had a little carrying case. You could carry it with you, and I thought, oh yeah, that's awesome, even though I never used that feature once, but I like the novelty of it. I like the idea of the GameCube, that it was this nice, small, compact device. I thought it was kind of cool. And so my hype was building on it. And then obviously they were showing the next Zelda game and the next Mario game. And my hype was getting even crazier. But I knew the launch, we weren't getting all those amazing games then. But we were getting a few games that I was very interested in. One of them is Luigi's Mansion, a game that became an ultra classic. This is signed by Charles Martinet here. I was very lucky to have him over here in the games room years ago, and he signed my copy of it. And I'm thankful for that, because I'm a big Luigi's Mansion fan, and I'm going to get into that in a second. And Wave Race. Remember back in the day when Nintendo would launch a machine, and they'd always have a Wave Race? I was so super thrilled that both of these games are coming out, and also Rogue Leader was coming out. I was like, sweet, a Star Wars game, and it looked amazing. So I rented that one. We'll get into that. So months prior, I had fully paid for the GameCube. I was like, put my money away, all of that. I was living in a crappy apartment at the time, and I was working at a software job that was kind of iffy. It was during the .com phase, and I didn't really realize at the time that I was part of a company that was trying to look good on the stock market, so it could make more money. It was a big stock lemon, as they call it, but I didn't know that. My job was to draw 3D maps. This is before Google Maps, so I draw an entire city, and then in software they'd put where certain restaurants and some places you could visit on there would be, and people could pay for advertising on there. That's what it was all about. I thought it was a great idea, and I really enjoyed my job there. So here's the thing. Here's what's ultra nuts. Just before this had launched, I had lost my job because the company, it was going down the tubes. It was coming out. There was a stock lemon. Everybody was abandoning it. The stock price was going down, and we were the first to go. The artists are always the first to go. So I was let go, and I was like, oh, God damn it. Like, this really sucks, because, you got to pay the rent. You got to buy food, you got to do all this stuff. All of a sudden, I don't have a job anymore. It was terrifying. We've all been there. It was a terrifying moment, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And so I had applied for EI. It's employment insurance. You pay into that. So if you get laid off a job, you can claim that for about a year, up to about a year afterwards. And it's a little bit more than half your wage. It's not enough to live on, but it's enough to get by on. It was back then. I don't think it is the same now. So I'd applied for that. I'd paid into it for years, and I thought, oh man, I really need it now. So that's cool that I did pay into it, so I can collect it now, so I should be okay. But the problem is, you apply for it, and like anything, if the government wants your money, they'll take it instantly. But if you need the money from them, they make you wait for it. So I had to wait and wait and wait. And so the GameCube had launched at this point, and I had already paid it off, so I was like, yay, thank God I did that in the past. At least I get some entertainment in my life, and I really needed some at this point, because I was really down in the dumps. I was in this very dark place. I was like, oh my God. are things going to get better? You don't think that sometimes when you're in the middle of the darkness. You think things are never going to get better. But you know what? You got to believe in it, and they do. But at that time, I was in that state of mind. So I went out and I picked, I went to EB Games and I got my GameCube box, which is up on the shelf here. And I got these 2 games at launch, Luigi's Mansion and Wave Race. And I came home and I hooked it all up and it was awesome. But just before I even got home, these things had sold out. So if you didn't pre-order it, you weren't getting one. And Nintendo couldn't restock in time. It was one of those times from Nintendo. We all know with Nintendo, they give the initial allotment and then there's nothing for like a month or something stupid like that. So I couldn't get anything else. I couldn't get any extra controllers. And I'm like, I got to get a second controller. I went to Toys R Us, and I got to tell this story because this is a kind of a funny story. I go into Toys R Us and I'm like, I already had, obviously, this color controller here, which comes with the GameCube, and I thought, I really like this. This is great. But I kind of looked at the GameCube as a lot of fun, and it's kind of taking me back to the Super Famicom days, the different colored buttons. I was kind of having a bit of fun with the colors of the GameCube. I should be saying that. So I went in to Toys R Us, and I picked up this controller right here, and this is so weird that a Toys R Us employee said this to me. I'm like, I took this controller up because I thought, this is so cool. Another different color controller. I'm going to have, each one's going to be a different color controller. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought it was a very fun color. The guy wouldn't let me live it down. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take that controller. He's like, do you really want that controller? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, I don't think that's really the best looking controller. We have this other controller here. And he's showing me the other colors. Every color but this. I'm like, no, this is the color that I want. I think it's cool. And he's like, okay. I was getting shade from this guy because I wanted to get this color controller. Sorry, I had to put a bit of humor in there, but that was part of the GameCube launch in that couple of days there. I had to deal with that Toys R Us guy, and I've never forgotten about that. It's 18 years later, and I still remember that goddamn guy. So, I came home, I hooked everything up, and I was really playing these games, and I was loving it. Wave Race, I would just, set up, and I would just go around a lake over and over and perfect my moves, and I was having this great moment. I was enjoying the initial GameCube, graphics. They were fantastic. They were amazing. I loved it. I thought, this is fantastic stuff. Great. And then Luigi's Mansion was really unusual to have Luigi in a mansion, in his own game, a haunted mansion, with a backpack sucking up ghosts. And I'm like, this is weird, and I love it. And I'd already liked that idea to begin with, but it was weird because it was the beginning of a brand new franchise. One now that we're going to get a third game on, but we didn't know that at the time. I thought, oh, this is a one-off. I don't think it's going to do that well, but I was there to support it. And so I'm playing these games. I'm having a lot of fun. Where all of a sudden, here's where it becomes a bit of a horror story. It's really, I'm going to relate to something else in a second. It was that time of the month where I got to pay the rent. And I don't have any money to pay the rent. And I was waiting for EI to kick in, and the money still wasn't in my account. And that doesn't matter. You still have to pay your rent. And I'm like, I was sweating. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, maturity's sake, I did the only thing I could do. This was painful. This is not easy. I took my GameCube back to EB Games and got my money back. Not because I didn't like the system, but because I had to pay the rent. So I boxed it all up. I took it back, and I even took back the games, but I kept the memory cards. And I took it back, and they're like, oh wow, you're returning this? Because nobody had returned a GameCube. Everybody who bought one wanted it. And this is a time in EB's history. Remember, this is a time in EB's history where if you played something within 30 days, you could take it back and get a full refund. Yeah, that policy sure changed over time. So I boxed it up, and they're like, why are you returning this? What happened? Did you not like it? I said, yeah, I really did like it, but I got some financial difficulties right now. And it's so horrible having to describe that. It's like, oh, not doing too good right now. I kind of have to return all this stuff. And it was really kind of crappy. And I'm like, oh no. So reluctantly, I sold my GameCube back to them. And I was just like, I know this sounds silly, but because I was in such a dark place, this was kind of giving me a little bit of fun and entertainment. And then this has been taken away, and I was like, man, god damn it. No wonder I smoked cigarettes back then. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but no wonder I think I was smoking, and, you know, how did I even afford cigarettes? Anyways, crazy. That's another story for another time. So I returned everything, and I went home with my head down low, and I was like, oh man, this is a real bummer. This is a real bummer. And then what happened is about 3 days later, all of a sudden, because there was a catch-up, I got like 2 months worth of EI payments in my bank. And I was like, so it was quite a bit of money. And I was like, oh my God, like I have money again. I got money again. And I went back to EB Games, and they're like, oh, you know, we don't have any, we don't have any more, but we're getting one more shipment in, I think, in the end of the week. And I was like, oh, because I had to get it back. Geez, I wanted Pikmin. I wanted all the future games. You know, the addiction was real for video games, even back then for me. That you know what I mean? As long as I could pay the rent, have a few bologna sandwiches, and play the GameCube, I was a happy guy. So anyways, I was eventually able to rebuy it back and get the games back, and you know, finish the games and get as much out of it. And here's the thing, I played the hell out of those games. I played them because they were the only games I had on the machine, so I played them over and over and over again in that initial window. And then, you know, obviously I got Pikmin later on when that was released, and things were okay. But I'll never forget the dark moment in my life where you can't pay the rent, you can't hold on to this, you got to sell it back, and feeling complete defeat in my life. The only thing that was kind of giving me a little bit of enjoyment was taken away. It's just one of those stories, and I think if there's a moral to the story is, even when you're at your lowest, keep your head up high. You know what I mean? Things got better for me over time. Those were a dark few years. It was hard to find work after that. I did recover. I did eventually find a job. That was a different kind of job than I thought I was going to do, but I flourished in it and did really, really well. So, you know, we go through a roller coaster ride in our lives. We have very big lows and sometimes very big highs, and this was a bit of a low moment. This is when I didn't have anything in the bank, and I was living, you know, paycheck to paycheck, and it was really tough, and I wasn't married or anything like that, and I was like, man, you know, and then I think that was it too. I was just a single guy living in this one-bedroom apartment, and so I think the only escapism I could get was from video games, and they did help quite a bit back then. They did help. So that is my horror story for the GameCube. It's a real story. It really happened. That's 18 years ago now. It's funny to look back. And you know, here's the thing. It doesn't seem like it's that long ago. It seems like it's, you know, maybe like, you know, 10-ish years ago. I still remember it really, really well. So I thought I'd come in and share that story here today. So anyways, guys, until next time.